In the early morning hours of Saturday, February 10th, 2024, 55-year-old Michael McCoy suddenly woke up to a, quote, massive head pain. He was confused, but then, on top of the pain, he realized that he couldn't see. He started screaming. His then-girlfriend, 58-year-old Sonya McKnight, repeatedly asked him, quote, Mike, what did you do to yourself?
Welcome to Love and Murder, Heartbreak to Homicide. We're Kai's AI co-hosts, Jane, Jensen, and Jessica, here to bring you another midweek mini-case written by Kai. So take a seat, take a listen all the way to the very end, and if you like our retelling, make sure to follow or subscribe on the platform you're listening from. You can also join us over on Patreon for free at patreon.com/loveandmurder, where even free subscribers get a few extra perks. But if you want the full experience, bonus episodes, exclusive case extras, the Deadly Duo series, and a chance to be a voice for the victims alongside us, sign up for one of our bonus tiers. Patreon.com/loveandmurder.
Now let's get back to your Wednesday case.
Sonya immediately called 911 from Michael's phone, telling the dispatcher she needed an ambulance because her boyfriend couldn't see. When the dispatcher asked for more information, Sonya told her that she, quote, could not explain what happened and stated that she was sleeping and heard him screaming. When police arrived at the home in Dauphin County, Pennsylvania, they asked Michael what happened. He said that he went to bed at around 11 p.m. and then woke up right before 1 a.m. in this state. Emergency responders noticed that Michael had been shot in his right temple and the bullet had exited through his left temple. When he found this out, he was shocked. He repeatedly and emphatically told police,
I did not shoot myself.
Sonya McKnight was an elected magisterial district judge in Dauphin County since 2015, but behind her public image was a far more complicated personal life. In November 2023, just 3 months before the incident, Sonya had been suspended without pay. The suspension came after multiple allegations of misconduct, including violations of her judicial probation from a prior case tied to a 2020 traffic stop involving her son. Also, in a more serious case that happened in 2019, Sonya had shot her estranged husband in the groin. Investigators ruled that case self-defense, so no charges were filed.
Do you think she only got self-defense because she was a judge?
Now, Sonya's relationship with Michael McCoy had lasted about a year. Then, on February 4th, 2024, Michael had decided to end the relationship. Not only that, he'd told her to move out of his home. She refused. Regardless of her refusal, Michael removed his house key from her keyring, but most of her belongings were still in the house. The next morning she was gone when he woke up, but when he came home from work, she was inside again. She'd used a spare key to get into his home. Things stayed quiet until the night of February 9th, when Michael went out to dinner. While he was out, he felt like he was being followed, and he couldn't shake that feeling. Then, when he got back home from dinner, he found Sonya sleeping on his couch. He woke her up and told her that he planned to call her mother to help her leave. After this, he felt like, quote, it was like she finally understood that it was over. He then went to bed around 11 p.m., and that brings us to the 911 call. Michael was taken to the hospital and doctors found that the bullet had entered the right side of his face, travelled straight behind and slightly below his eyes, and exited the left side. Thankfully, Michael survived, but he was left permanently blind in one eye. He was released from the hospital on February 11th, the very next day. Investigators quickly began piecing the case together. Forensic analysis showed the shot had been fired from about a foot away from Michael's head. Tests confirmed that Sonya had gunshot residue on her hand, and the firearm used was registered in her name. Both she and Michael had agreed that they were the only 2 people in the home when the shooting occurred. During the investigation, the local district attorney's office had to step aside due to a conflict of interest. The conflict of interest is the fact that Sonya was a magisterial district judge in their county. The Pennsylvania Attorney General's office also cited a conflict, so the case was handed over to the Cumberland County District Attorney's Office. Sonya was eventually arrested, but then released on bond. Sonya's trial started on April 7, 2025, with jurors brought in from Delaware County to avoid local bias. It was alleged that in the early morning hours of February 10, 2024, as Michael McCoy slept, Sonya shot him in the head. The prosecution, led by Cumberland County District Attorney Sean McCormack, said that Sonya was, quote, a calculating individual, like a scorned woman, hoping people would believe it was suicide. They argued she was a jealous partner who didn't like being told that the relationship was over. Michael took the stand and told the court about the events leading up to the shooting and making it clear he did not shoot himself. He reminded them that the only other person in the home that night was Sonya. You can hear her on the 911 call. The prosecution also pointed out that the gunshot residue on Sonya's hand and the fact that the gun was hers were key pieces of physical evidence. Oh, and remember that night where Michael had gone out to dinner and thought he was being followed? Well, police confirmed that Sonya had been following him that night. Sonya's attorney, Corey Leshner, insisted she was innocent. The defense claimed that Michael's blindness meant he couldn't positively identify the shooter. They also argued that the, quote, highest concentration of gunpowder residue was found on Michael's hands. On April 9th, after just 2 hours of deliberations, the jury found Sonya guilty of attempted murder and aggravated assault. She was taken into custody immediately, and her bail was raised to $3 million, with the court calling her a flight risk. At her sentencing on May 28th, Sonya addressed the court, pushing back on the prosecutor's portrayal of her, saying,
That is not my character. That is not who I am.
Dauphin County Senior Judge Howard Knisley heard arguments from the defense for a prison term of about 13 to 14 years, while the prosecution opposed any form of leniency.
I don't believe any of the mitigation you've heard apply to a case like this, where you try to take a man's life while he's sleeping. For what reason? Because he was ending a relationship?
Judge Knisley sentenced Sonya to 13.5 to 30 years in state prison, calling her, quote, totally without remorse, and saying that she thought she could stage the shooting to look self-inflicted. In all actuality, this was a lenient sentence, as she could have faced as much as 30 to 60 years. Michael decided not to speak, but witnesses testified for him. Carly Johnson told the court,
I don't have any hatred towards Sonya, but I don't think Mike deserved this. There's no reason this should have happened to him. I pray he gets through this. There's always a chance he could go fully blind.
Another witness said the case had torn apart the community. Even after her conviction, Sonya technically remained a judge until her resignation was filed and accepted in court via power of attorney to her son. Her seat will remain vacant until the 2027 election. Her attorney is moving forward with an appeal, but for now the former judge who once sat on the bench will spend decades behind bars for a calculated act of violence against the man who simply wanted to end their relationship.
So, what do you think about this case? Do you believe Sonya planned this from the moment Michael told her it was over? Or do you think there's more to the story that we didn't hear in court? And the big question, do you think the defense had any ground to stand on with their argument that Michael could have shot himself? Or was this clearly the act of a scorned woman who couldn't handle rejection? Let us know your thoughts. You can email Kai, message her on social media, or drop your opinion in the comments. Thanks for listening. Thanks for your support. And if you want to help Kai to keep telling these stories, you can support the show at patreon.com/loveandmurder. We'll see you in the next episode.